Hey everyone, I am back today with another review, Stephen King's The Wastelands, Book 3 in the Dark Tower series. In this book, we are once again with Roland the Gunslinger, and in our last book, Roland drew Eddie Dean from New York City and Susanna from her own version of New York City to join his quartet, his destiny, as he continues his pursuit for the Dark Tower. In this book, we are going to add two more members to our quartet. Jake Chambers, who was the little boy that Roland sacrificed in our first book in this series. He is a very important gunslinger throughout the rest of the books. And we also add Oi, a billy bumbler, a kind of small dog, raccoon creature, who is also a very important member of our quartet as we go forward for the Dark Tower. This is a great book. There's a battle in the beginning with our quartet versus Shardik, an artificially intelligent, monstrous electronic bear. As the quartet attempts to align themselves with a beam, they have to battle a bear in the beginning. A lot of action right out of the bat in this novel. We also go through this dimension's version of New York City, the city of Lud, and we meet some more bad guys that are trying to stop our quartet from making it any further toward the Dark Tower. And we also have a pretty dramatic scene where Jake is drawn into Roland's world as part of his quartet. It's one of the better scenes in the book. Stephen King in this book is a very mature writer by this point. As we read book 1 in this series, we see that he's a young writer, even though the novel's pretty good. You know, he was talented as a young man. He matures in novel 2, and we continue on with a very good writer here in book number 3. This is not my favorite book of the series. Book number 2 was my favorite, but this is really, really good. The last couple of installments in this series are kind of different, and that's kind of like a breaking point between the fans of the series. Some are on this point, some are on that side when it comes to the last 2 novels, as they're a little bit different, but this continues on in the fashion of book 2. It's a really good book. I'm going to give this novel, I'm actually going to give it 3 stars out of 5. I remember when I read this that it was a little bit slow going for me. It took me a while to finish it. Not that it was a bad story at all, but, you know, I felt maybe there was just a little bit of a lack of suspense in this book. But, you know, a lot of fantasy books similar to this one aren't primarily based on their suspenseful nature. It's more of a world-building kind of thing and a depth here that is what is so good about this novel. Stephen King's The Wastelands, I'm going to give it 3 stars. We have a matured Stephen King in this book. He's just going forward at this point in his lifetime as he's writing great novel after great novel. I recommend this one. If you've read 1 and 2, obviously you've got to read this one. If you haven't read 1 and 2, I do not recommend that you start with this novel. Go back and check out the previous installments, The Wastelands. I say read it.